Hello viewers, yes, this is Ranjana ma'am and you are watching, yes, mine as well as your channel. And yes, I've got countless requests. Which is the poem? In ICSE, it's I remember. Many of you have requested me. Yeah, I think that is the only poem that is left to cover in your ICSE syllabus, or maybe a doctor's journal also. Because I have done a work of artifice, night mail and skimble shanks. I have done these three, so only two more remain, and this is the fourth one. Many of you have requested it for your half yearly exams. So here I am. Yeah, but you know what's coming. Before I start, please subscribe to my channel if you have not done up till now, and don't forget to press the like button once you have viewed this, because it makes me feel that my work has not gone in vain. Right? Then what are we waiting for? Let's start. So I remember. This is a poem by Thomas Hood. So when I start, I always tell my students, my online students also, that they should read the box. That means the previous page where something is mentioned, a little is mentioned about the poet or the author. So here also, he was an English poet, Thomas Hood. So quite a few lines written. And I remember was first published in 1844. So he lived only for 46 years, 1799 to 1845. So he died quite young. And in this period, he wrote this poem was published in 1844, means 1 year prior to his death. So what does this poem tell us? The poet addresses the gloomy and uncertain adulthood, and he as if compares the two. The childhood is the time for pure innocence and happiness, and he talks about that, and he regrets that the childhood has passed away, and he is not happy with his adulthood. He wishes that he had died when he was in his childhood, because that time he was happy. So this might give us an idea that he is very unhappy in this adulthood. Maybe because within a year he passes away at a very young age of 46. So the poet feels that the time passes by leaving only memories behind. So the happy time has passed away and only memories are left behind. So now we start the poem. I remember. So this is what we call an anaphora, means a repetition. Just see, I remember, and you will find the words many times. It comes again and again, the same word or the same phrase being repeated again and again. So this is an example. This figure of speech is called an anaphora. I remember the house where I was born, the little window where the sun came peeping in at morn. He never came a wink too soon, nor brought too long a day. But now I often wish the night had borne my breath away. So the poet says that he remembers the house. He still remembers the house where he was born. So we can call that he is swept by nostalgia. He remembers the house where he was born, and the small window through which the sunlight entered his room. So the sun is being personified here. The sun came peeping in at morn. So sun as if is like a friend and comes peeping through the window. Like friends, they peep at your window and call you, come, let's go and play. So the sun as if comes and peeps through his window. Sun is personified as a male. He never came a wink too soon. So sun is very punctual. He comes at the right time. He doesn't come before his time, neither he comes after his time. He never came a wink too soon nor brought too long a day. But now I often wish. But now that he has grown up, he has reached his adulthood, or rather when he writes the poem, he is in his middle age, crossed 40. And when he writes it, he wishes that he had died in his childhood. But now I often, and this is not just once he wishes, he often wishes. That means life must have been tough with him. And he wishes, if only I had died in my childhood, how happy would I have been. That means he doesn't enjoy the adulthood. When we are young, we want to grow up. But once we grow up, we regret. We feel sorry. We want to go back to our childhood. Why? Because childhood is the best period in one's life. When we are children, we don't realize it. So it is like Shelley says in one of his poems, we look before and after and pine for what is not. That means, yes, we look before what has happened, we look after what is yet to come, and then wish those things which are not. So same for us. When we are children, we want to grow up, and once we have grown up and we face the hardships of life, the harshities of life, and when we are exhausted physically and mentally and spiritually, then we feel what a blissful time was our childhood. How I wish to go back to my childhood. So he also wishes that he had died in his childhood so that he wouldn't have had to experience the harsh realities of the adult life. The second stanza is about small things that he remembers about his childhood. Maybe in his garden, the flowers which used to grow. I remember the roses red and white, the violets and the lily cups, those flowers made of light, the lilacs where the robins built, and where my brother set the laburnum on his birthday, the tree is living yet. So he remembers the flowers that grew in his garden. What type of flowers? The roses, red and white, violets, the lily cups, bright colored flowers. So those flowers made of light. So the bright colored flowers that used to grow in his garden, the tree where the robin is a type of bird, where the robin had built its nest, he remembers that tree. And also he remembers the tree which had been planted by his brother. So the name of this tree is the laburnum, and the brother had planted this tree on his birthday, and the tree is living yet. He is so excited. The tree has not died, it is still living. I remember where I was used to swing, and though the air must rush as fresh to swallows on the wing, my spirit flew in feathers then, that is so heavy now, and summer pools could hardly cool the fever on my brow. So there is a comparison between the childhood when he was so free, just like a bird. So he as if enjoyed his flying on the swing. The swing, you fly but without wings. When you are on the swing, you go high up in the air and then you come down and again go high up. So you are also flying like a bird. You reach quite high and then you come down. So you are flying like a bird, but birds have their wings with the help of which they fly, and you are without your wings and yet you fly. So he remembers his flying on the swing and how he used to enjoy it, how free he would feel. And there is a comparison, and that time his spirit was very light. My spirit flew in feathers then, but now his spirit is heavy. Why? Because he is now burdened with the complexities, the harshities, the difficulties of the adulthood. They have made his spirit hard. It is not as light as a feather as it used to be in his childhood. And he says that the summer pools, the water is quite cool. Not like the summer we have. The summer is the best season for people in England. So the pool water is quite cool and they enjoy the pool water. But he says the summer pools, the cool waters of the pool of the summer time, they cannot cool the fever on my brow. That means he feels unhappy, agitated, unhappy, exhausted physically, mentally, spiritually, and even the coolest waters of the pool during summer cannot make him peaceful and calm again. Something which in his childhood he didn't need any water to make him feel cool. It was automatically there. He felt so peaceful in his childhood, so happy in his childhood, but now he is not happy. He is not happy and he regrets that he has become an adult. He wants to go back to his childhood. So adulthood is the time when you lose your innocence of your childhood. Childhood is pure innocence, and as you grow up and you mature, your innocence leaves you. So you gain knowledge, you gain maturity at the cost of sacrificing your innocence of childhood. I remember the fir trees dark and high. So maybe in his neighborhood or in his childhood he had seen many fir trees, and they were quite high, tall fir trees. So in his childhood he felt that these trees are very close to heaven. I used to think that slender tops were close against the sky. So as a child we have it is our childhood ignorance, and we imagine many things or we think many things which are proved wrong as we grow up. But those ignorance, we say na, ignorance is bliss, ignorance is happiness, and that ignorance was also happiness. Why? Because that time he felt, oh my God, the fir trees, they are so high, they must be close to heaven. So what does close to heaven means they are close to God. So I used to think that slender tops were close against the skies, close against the sky, and in the sky is heaven and God lives in heaven. That means the top of the fir trees are close to heaven. So if I can climb to the top of the fir tree, I will be closer to God. Maybe these ideas were in his mind in his childhood. But when maturity came, he gained knowledge, then he realized, no, this is all foolish, this is so silly. Because fir trees, however tall they might be, they can never be close to heaven or close to the skies. Close to the sky. Sorry, there is only one sky. So close to the sky. So it was a childish ignorance. So he accepts it. Childish ignorance, but in this ignorance there was happiness. But now it is little joy. Little joy means not a little joy, it means no joy at all. So now that he has matured and he realizes that no, so it does not give him any happiness that he has learned the truth. He has got the knowledge that the fir trees are very far away from heaven in spite of their great height. But does this give him any happiness? No, it is little joy, means no joy at all. Like many times you get in your grammar a question, little did he know that his father had passed away. So he had no idea of this. So little did he know, or little did. So he did not know. Begin he did. So little did he know means he did not know. Little did he realize, he did not realize. So here also, but now it is little joy means no joy at all. This revelation that the fir trees, in spite of their great height, are quite distant from the skies. He has realized this truth, but it gives him no happiness. Why? To know I am farther off from heaven than when I was a boy. So when I was a boy, I felt if I climb the top of the fir tree, I can be close to heaven. But now that he has realized it is not, it is a silly, it is my ignorance which had made me think in this way. But that he realizes that time I was closer to heaven than I am now. I am now far away from heaven. This realization has made him far away from heaven. Whereas as a child he felt, oh, once the fir tree is the top and sky and there is heaven, so I am closer to God. Once I climb the top of the fir tree, I will be closer to God. and now he realizes, no, I am far away from God. So knowledge and maturity has brought this to him. So when he grows up, he goes far away from God. So this is a very sweet poem and a nostalgic poem, and this is a universal theme. All of us must be thinking in the same manner. Very few will disagree that childhood is the best part in the life of a person. So don't you all agree? Even you all are in class 9, yes, class 9. So you all should agree. Think of your kid brothers and sisters. But when Thomas Hood wrote, the childhood was really a happy time. I don't think the kids of today are really so happy as Thomas Hood had been in his time. Why? Because today's childhood doesn't have that happiness. The moment you learn to walk and your parents, they put a bag on your school bag on your back and some play school, and then those nursery school, and then the high school, so one after the other. The moment you learn to walk, the moment you learn to talk, A, B, C, D, A for apple, the parents try to put it in your brain, cram in your brain. But those were, but Thomas Hood's time, when it was, yes, which is the time, let me just check. So 1799 to 1845, that means the 19th century. That time it was different. There was not so much of pressure, and they enjoyed a happy, blissful childhood. So it's quite natural that he regrets that if only he had died in his childhood. He wishes if only he had died in his childhood, and he regrets his coming of age and becoming a mature person, because this maturity and knowledge does not give him any happiness. Rather, it brings in its wake a lot of responsibilities, a lot of impediments, and unhappiness also, and which makes him physically and spiritually, mentally weary. So much so that he doesn't want to live at all. So much so that he realizes, I am far away from heaven now than when I was a child. So this is a very sweet poem. If you want to ask me, you can write in the comment section anything about it. So the theme also, what is the theme of this poem? Yes, it is the glorification of childhood, and he contrasts the innocent happiness of the childhood days along with the miserable adulthood. Adulthood, yes, why? Because you are filled with responsibilities, burdens, and complexities of life. You have to face them. Many impediments come in your way. When you are a child, your parents are there to face it for you. But when you grow up, it's your own responsibility. Responsibility of the family, your parents, your work responsibility, responsibility at your workplace, responsibility of your wife and children. So many responsibilities, and you have to take the burden, whereas in childhood you led a carefree life. So yes, that time maybe you want to become, the big ones, the grown-ups, they are so lucky and I want to grow up. Many times children feel, even we felt the same when we had to study and prepare for our exams, and then we felt how nice these teachers are. They are sitting and just watching and having and they are talking to themselves also. What a nice life for them. I wish I would grow up. And when I grow up, I feel, I was so happy as a child only. A little bit of study, that was good. So we look before and after and pine for what is not. So memories of childhood throughout the poem. In the first stanza about the house, the second about the garden where the different flowers grew, the third about his ride on the swing. He compares himself to a bird flying higher up, and in the fourth one, his childhood ignorance of the fir tree. So they all glorify what? The childhood and his yearning to go back to it. So what is the rhyme scheme? So the poem is of 4 stanzas. and in each stanza there are 8 lines. So 8 lines means an octave. And what is the rhyme scheme? A B C B D E F E D E F E. Yes, A B C B D E F E. So this is the rhyme scheme. And imagery, it's full of imagery. First we have the imagery of the many visual. We have the visual imagery, the sun, the wind, the flowers, the trees, the laburnum tree and all that. And yes, touch, imagery of touch. The summer pools, the water of the summer pools could hardly cool the feverish brain. And then personification, the sun. Sun is compared to a human being. Sun is peeping through the window just like a child, just like a friend of this person. And yeah, some examples of simile. Similes are when we compare two things which are not similar with the help of like and as, either like or as. The comparison is a very strange comparison. So, and though the air must rush as fresh to swallows on the wing. So the poet feels that the swing, when he had his ride on the swing, it was as fresh as the birds, the swallows feel when they fly. He also felt in a similar manner. And then yes, alliteration. Most of you must be knowing what an alliteration is. Yes, so the roses red and white. So the roses red. My spirit flew in feathers, FF. And yes, the language is quite simple, it's easy, all of us can understand the meaning, no hard words used here. So this is where this poem comes to an end. Bye for the time being. And yes, I will be uploading Julius Caesar Act 2 Scene 1. Many of you have requested me for it. So just wait for it, wait and watch. Bye all of you.